Hey guys, it's the Nerdy Movie Guy. So today we're going to finally review Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now this franchise stands out on its own. It stands out as an original compared to Caesar's trilogy, compared to the original ones, compared to the remake. This one stands out. Although it does feel so much familiar, while also taking risks, while also having so much to love and having so much to look forward to. So this movie kind of hits all the different points in just the right way to be expansive, but also familiar, while exciting at the same time. So this movie was really intriguing for me. So we're just sort of gonna dive in. If you didn't see the slide before the video, I will be going through the movie scene by scene. So this will be very much a spoiler video. So we're gonna dive into it now. The opening of this movie, we get to see Caesar one last time. He has passed already, but we get to see Maurice and Rocket and the rest of the apes he saved sort of having this memorial for him. He's lit on fire, and all of the apes sort of just come together to remember Caesar. And immediately after, it says many generations later. So I think this is perfect because it doesn't exactly specify an exact timeline. So I think it's up to the viewer's imagination as to how many years later this could have been. I think it could be maybe 2 to 250 years. This could have been 800 years. We don't know. I think the time jump doesn't necessarily affect the apes as characters. I think it will affect the humans as characters later on, which we'll get to. So in this movie, we sort of get to see something different and new that Caesar's trilogy couldn't show. In Caesar's trilogy, it was all about survival. Caesar is always trying to save the apes, and it's all about survival. You don't get to see other clans and different religious concepts and just ways of life that the apes could have. So we get to see that in this movie because we have Noah, Suna, and Anaya. We get 3 new characters, and they're looking for eagle's eggs because that's part of their clan, is to raise them, bond with them, and so they have to collect the eggs themselves. So this is just a new, interesting concept, something that's specific for his clan that we don't really see any other apes in the previous movies or in the rest of this movie sort of have this realization or concept of. No one else does this, just his clan. So this is something interesting because now it makes it unique and identifiable. When you see Planet of the Apes character posters years to come, when there's collage pictures of characters from the whole franchise, the ape with the eagle, you know that's from Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So that's something really cool to see. And it doesn't take long to start the world building within his clan and this world, bringing fans back to the world of Planet of the Apes. But the action does start pretty soon, after you've been introduced to enough characters to sort of be engaged with them and with the story as a whole. So there's a human that sort of is stealing from Noah and his crew, just a little bits at a time of food, blanket. And so it's just sort of the small reminder humans definitely are scavengers now in this world. So, and it's sort of veering closer to what the original Planet of the Apes had in its concept. So it's pretty cool. And as we move forward with this film, when the action picks up, we see these new group of apes. Aside from this gorilla, the rest of the apes have masks, and we don't know where the masks come from. It's just these are a new group of apes, and they're killing scouts. They're looking for this human, and you don't know what is going on with this human because the movie doesn't explain all this yet. But these apes are looking for the human. They find a horse. They realize there's another village, so they follow the horse back to the village, which ends up, as we've seen, it's Noah's village. So Noah follows them back because he had snuck out in the night because his eagle egg had broken. And when he sneaks out, he sees the apes. He ends up following them back, but the clan's already, it's on fire. They're burning the village. They're taking all these prisoners, and he doesn't really know what's going on, but he's told to go help his father, where we get Noah, his father, in this gorilla, in this sort of fight. We get to see the motion capture close up with the hand-to-hand combat style action in this movie. We've already seen the opening with this beautiful landscape, the waterfalls. We just get to see how visually stunning this film is. We're getting close-up shots of the motion capture with the facial recognition, or the facial features We get to see its details and such. And now we're getting to see them fighting. So it's really, really cool because in just, I would say 20 minutes, first 20 minutes of the movie, these are so many elements we have already just to showcase the strength and the power and the technology that this director and this movie and this franchise can have, which is awesome. Obviously, Noah survives, but his clan is taken, and here we have the ultimate plot for the rest of the movie. He wants to find his clan and bring them home. That's his story, that's his mission. He's not deviating from it. In the rest of the movie, we delve the details of what he experiences and sees, but that is the story, which is really cool. It's something different. We've seen something similar in War for the Planet of the Apes when Caesar lost a lot of the apes and he has to go rescue them. But he has a crew with him. Noah has no one. The eagle, his father's eagle, is following him. So he doesn't have any friends or companions. He does come across this orangutan, Raka, and he is now the only character in the movie and the only character probably in the franchise now that remembers Caesar. Now, of course, he doesn't remember him personally, but he doesn't describe how many or what kind of apes were with him. But he describes he is part of the Order of Caesar to make sure that his laws and his wishes were carried out to completion. And so he joins Noah when he finds a human following him. The human continues to follow Noah and Raka, and so now you have a small group going. And there's just little instances throughout his path. For example, they find other humans. This human girl, she sees that the others are more feral, more scavengers, where you're getting these hints that she's smarter than the rest, as Raka points out. And so you're starting to wonder what's going on. And while they're seeing these other humans, the gorilla and his apes come back, and he sees the girl. Now these apes are on a hunt. What happens is this girl ends up speaking. She shouts out to Noah, wants him to help her. He does. They get away, and they get to have a conversation with Raka about how she can speak. And this is where you start to get the mystery of not knowing if she's going to play a large role, if this is meant to be something separate, if this is a setup for later. We don't know. Her character's name is May. Now we have a name for her. And we get to continue with the rest of the movie where she knows where the apes are being taken. She has her ulterior motives, we know that, but we don't know what they are. So she takes Raka and Noah to that place. Ultimately, Raka does die, saving May. And when they get to this place, Proximus Caesar, played by Kevin Durand, he is the leader in this kingdom, as he calls it. So now we're at Proximus Caesar's kingdom, and we see he's sort of enslaving the apes to do his work. He's encouraging them to do Caesar's work, but he's kind of controlling them too. And so we just get yet another clan, if you will, long after Caesar had passed. So this is a new concept we get to have of what the apes and the clans would have been like. And so he wants to open a door, this vault, because he assumes weapons and knowledge are in there that he doesn't want the humans to have. And there is another character that meets May in this kingdom when they're all taken prisoner / given a home because the apes don't imprison Noah. We find out that there are a few humans that can speak, and we don't know why. I think that detail is being saved for later, because they don't really explain it. It's just, we've had 2 characters so far we know can speak. And so this is building the mystery and the intrigue with the story and overall the franchise's story, especially if this ends up getting 5 more films, which is heavily rumored, but not confirmed. I think it could be cool, but we'll see. So, now Proximus Caesar wants the vault, he wants the knowledge before the humans can get to it. And what ends up happening in this climactic ending, Proximus Caesar feels like he comes in the last third of the movie. And he does play a really great villain. I wish a screen time he had more of it. However, he plays a really great, interesting, and compelling role for what he had. And so, ultimately, the vault does get opened. The apes and the human, they're at war for the knowledge. What ends up happening is May decides that she wants to flood the vault, because it takes place near the water, as we've seen in the trailers and promotional art, so that Proximus Caesar just can't have it. It's just simply put. And so she does take this hard drive. Now, we don't really know exactly what it's meant to be. All we know is she's hinted that if she can find something in this vault, it could help humans get back to the way they were. We're assuming speech. They don't really go into a lot of detail in this movie about how it affected humans in the long run. We just know generally they're feral, but there's some can speak. And so it's sort of fuzzy, but because these don't connect directly to the originals, I don't think they have to. This can sort of take its own pace. As May mentions earlier in the movie, that the government had this fault, and they would have left by now. So whether it's that or some space station, human surviving is definitely a possibility within this franchise. And so if they can survive being separate from the disease, they can speak, they're intelligent, and they will fight back. So this creates so many different possibilities for where this franchise could move forward, which I think is a really cool thing, because unlike the remake or the originals, this is the first time we have a war brewing that doesn't happen suddenly. It's not just over quickly. So I think having a real build-up is something interesting that we haven't had before. The only time we came close to this is in the end of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, knowing that war is coming, which hence became the name for the next movie. So between the apes hunting the humans, there's just so many references, I would say, in this movie to Dawn, to war, to Rise, to the original Planet of the Apes. There's so many connecting pieces that just gives fans a familiarity and a sense of nostalgia throughout this whole thing. And as every good hero needs, he gets to be Proxima Caesar in the end. Proxima Caesar dies. I hope he survived, but we'll find out. He ultimately beats him, and he takes his clan back home. He has his story nice and neat. He may have lost his father, but he has his mother, which is a parental dynamic that Caesar never had, given the circumstances of his mother dying when he was a child. So there are already new concepts, new relationships, new character developments being built that they just never had in the last trilogy. So there's so many new stories, there's so many new characters, concepts with the Order of Caesar and the Eagle Clan. There's so many different concepts that I think just feeds into the world building aspect of this franchise in this movie specifically. But what happens is during Noah's journey, he comes across his telescope and he looks into the telescope. We don't see what he sees. We know that May also looked in the telescope. We don't know what she sees. At the end of the movie, May ultimately delivers his hard drive to humans that can speak. They're in this vault. They're wearing these safety suits when they come out of the vault. So it's assumed that they don't even breathe air on this world. They just stay in the vault most of the time. This hard drive allows them to speak other people across the country, across the oceans. We're not sure. We just know they've made contact with others. And the satellites are activated in this base, and it reaches up into the sky. And what I find interesting, as May looks up to the sky in the end, so does Noah when he takes Suna to the same place. I think what they saw was a space station. If you think back, space travel, space station has always been heavily a part of this franchise, especially its original, especially in the remake. Even though Rise of the Planet of the Apes had the rocket announced to take off, that took off in the original, even though it didn't directly connect. I think that concept, maybe those characters, they could leave it open to maybe recasting the same character, taking the story in its own direction. Or I think they're just going to ignore the original characters, and maybe the rocket taking off was just this concept of reinforcements later, movies down. Regardless, a space station was not confirmed or seen in this movie. It's just a theory I have. I think it is definitely a possibility. Regardless, we got a great cast for this movie. Compelling stories to tell. A lot of friction. A lot of interesting dynamics. A lot of different kind of character relationships. This movie stands out on its own. I think it will, even compared to the next ones. This wasn't the most action-packed Planet of the Apes movie, but this is an introductory to the concepts and the religious aspect and the clan style of characters building, character development. So I think there's plenty of opportunity with lots of stories to grow for future movies. If this one had flopped, then it was a decent ending. I think fans would be content with. However, there's definitely enough set up that I think several movies, whether they do 2 more or 5 more, I think there'll be interesting concepts to explore and great stories for us to see. So far, this is one of the most solid franchises that I can think of in movie history. And I think it's just going to keep going. So thank you so much for watching. I love Planet of the Apes. I love this new one. And I can't wait to see what happens when the next one releases. Keep it digging.